We were late for our flight. We started running towards the gate. Who got stopped? The Muslim girl. He was like, you cannot run. You as a Muslim, you as a veiled person, you cannot run. She's white, she can run. She didn't bomb our towers. You bombed our towers.
We turned the word nigger into a term of endearment for ourselves. You know how hard that gotta be?
I feel singled out. I feel rejected. I gotta take a risk. I have to ask questions. Why is it that white people never ask?
I leave my orientation when I leave it at the door of my house when I leave. And I have to, because otherwise, especially on my campus, it could be deadly.
How can me, this white man, take responsibility for things that have happened, that are going on now? And that is a burden that I can't bear. I can't do that.
I will never trust you because your people did that. They did that.
Yes, this is in our history, okay? I did not do any of this shit. I want to cross through, I want to cross that line, but in the meantime, I don't want to have to feel guilty about trying that.
You have to. You have to inherit the guilt. You have to inherit the shame.
I was here without a veil 5 years ago. People loved me. I was the exotic, hot girl. I came back with a veil. I'm the crazy, fanatic, religious terrorist.
When the organizations try to put up events to educate about Black History Month, about history, about Martin Luther King, and we have non-white students there, they're only there because of extra credit. Right. I hate that. Get it over with. Quick and fast. It's like a drive-through.
I'm afraid of walking down the street and white people walking toward me, but they say they're afraid of me. You know, I'm afraid of them. What are you gonna do? Like, what? I don't want to.
What are you gonna say?
What are you gonna say? You know?
And I know I'm not gonna be believed, so it
Right.
don't even matter.
And
So
not-
all
yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
do is make up a story. That's
Right.
how much power you have. You can
Right.
make up a story, and
it'll
that's
be,
my
and
life.
it'll be totally believed.
That's my life. In the blink of an eye, it's extinguished because that one white person just made up a story.
They can have a videotape of you beating the shit out of Will, and the question is, well, what was Will doing?
To provoke him.
When you talk about your experiences, you only talk about what you can't do, you know, what you don't feel. But you feel something.
As me, not as a white person, but as me.
No, as a white person.
As a white person.
As a white person.
As a white man.
As a white male, I tried to open up, and then I was shut down. I know I'm shut down.
But you're not shut. That's what I'm trying to say. It's numbness. You know what I mean? Like, you're not shut down. This is who you are as a person. You know, you have lost a piece of yourself as a human being.
Why am I so passionate? You know, well, that's how I am, and I'm always denied it. That's why you white people never understand the passion, because you're never denied anything.
Oh my God, I mean, it's like we hear this shit and we're like, yeah, I can relate. But the emotional disconnect is because there's still the white racism that says you are not human.
The most aggressive things that I've ever experienced at my school happened when I was in the company of friends of color. The only time I was not allowed on my campus was with a friend of color. Like, that was rage. That was rage.
Sometimes I don't want to be compassionate. Sometimes I just want to say that at the end of the day, you're a white man in this country. And that gives you a lot of things that I don't have.
Tell him what you will not have, but he will.
A break. You have that choice, that ability to take a day off.
I watch people with money. I watch people with privilege. I watch people in classrooms who have everything handed down to them. I can't experience what it feels like to have a different color of skin.
Do you realize that we, as colored people, have just catered to you for 2 days and we didn't even know it?
Yes.
We didn't even know it.
We're mad because you want a little give and take, and I want to give you give and take, but all they did was take, so I can't. I have to stand up for my people and take. And so I feel like I got to take a little extra slice first off. And if that means that you shed an extra tear, and that means you losing a night of sleep, you know, so be it. I know that man that looked just like me 300 years ago went through it every night. Afraid to wake up in the morning. Afraid to wake up in the morning. I can't trust you. I can't let my mom down. I can't let my grandma down. It's the same. I didn't choose black skin. You didn't choose white skin, but we got it. So this is what we got to do. You got to work and not have encouragement and not have me stand up for you around other black people, you know, and not have me correct you and not have me do any of these things for you, because you got to do all the work. You know, they say, oh, people, blacks are hurting themselves. No, no, whites are getting hurt too.
Layman is here with us today, and in a moment we're going to see a clip or two from The Color of Fear, and then all of us are going to go through his workshop and hope that you at home will join with us.
You give us a hard time for being white, being American, and being in control.
For a white person to look at me and say, you're just like me, we're both American, totally insults me.
Because you're not allowed to be a black man in corporate America. Walk through some halls with some pride, you're gonna scare some people. Show that you have some intelligence, you scare people.
Sure, you're right.
You gotta shuffle.
When my father hit Texas, he never stopped. He went straight through Texas.
The fear is still there because I know it can happen. Because it has happened, not to me, but to people who look just like me.
To me, when I hear it from a white person, it means, why can't we all just pretend to be white people? I'll pretend you're a white person, and then you can pretend to be white. Why don't you eat what I eat? Why don't you drink what I drink? Why don't you think like I think? Why don't you feel like I feel?
I'm afraid with these feelings, there will be no progress and no change in racism. The fear of color will remain. The gap isn't being bridged here.
The cure for the pain is in the pain.
You don't want to believe that man can be so cruel to himself or his own kind.
From here, I can work with you.
What do you want us to get from the film?
I want us to get that that racism is still going on today, that we've got to stop to hear the anguish and the pain that goes with that, and that we'll survive. But it's not about guilt or blame. There's no founder of racism in this room today. But what we need to do is to acknowledge something has happened and that each of us individually has to do something about it with someone next to us, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, and in our institutions.
Then he asked the audience to stand up.
I'd like you to choose somebody in this room that's very different looking than you. Maybe even somebody that you might be a little afraid of. Maybe even someone in this room that you might want to go up to but are scared to.
He had us talk about our lives and our thoughts on race, but just as important, he made us listen.
I'd like you to remember this, that what you do not say will be heard. If you decide to go just a little bit deeper, your partner will also follow you to that place, and you will have the beginning of a relationship with each other.
The problem is, for a black man, you can't just blend in. It's impossible.
You don't realize what's going on all around you, even though you don't feel as though you're a prejudiced person yourself. It brought a lot of things out, you know, that make you realize maybe in some instances you really are.
I chose Carol as my partner because she's one of the people that if I was normally walking down the street would clasp their purse and avoid me. And that's one of the problems that I think are out there in society, is that we're viewed wrong. We're showed on television wrong. The images that have been portrayed by us have been all negative. And I wanted her to see that there are better people out there, and this was an opportunity for her to get that experience.
It's like for black males, it's every day. We're not making this up. It's every day. I have no chance, excuse my language, in hell to make it in this country.
What happens as a white woman, nobody tells me I'm better. They tell me I'm normal, and there are people who are less. It takes so much work and so much digging in one's psyche to get it, that if I'm being taught some people are worse, oh my God, that means I'm being told that I'm better.
What it's going to require for us to have a multicultural society is to take the time to walk across a room, to go into another neighborhood, to invite another family into our home and to get to know theirs. We cannot keep working next to people for 20 or 30 years and never know anything personally about their lives. And today in this audience may be the beginning of that process. The truth is always there, but saying it out loud, that's the hard part.
She doesn't feel like an American. That bothers me.
Why is your primary identification more important than my primary identification?
I didn't say it was
I am
more
Dene.
important.
I am Navajo first. See?
When I talk about my pain, or Debbie talks about her pain, or Yvette talks about her pain, what's the purpose of saying discrimination comes in all forms? Why
Can you tell Karen, how do you react when you hear her say that?
It makes me feel like we're all discriminated against, and so what?
Get a grip.
It's a live and die for me sometimes. I have to put on my costume. When I go to work, I slick back my hair and it's straight to get the curls out.
I understand your feelings.
You are coming from your own pain and your own guilt.
Right.
Examine yourself. Don't put it on me.
I'm trying to figure out who I am, who you want me to be, who you see, how not to offend you, how to know how far to offend you before I lose my job.
If I leave it all outside and I get to walk in with the skeleton of my true, passionate, loving, caring, beautiful self, I get to leave all of that out the door. That's when I feel safe.
But I don't think we've ever really been able to hear how terrifying that can be and how much a person has to sacrifice to survive. I have no words.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know the full truth? Do you want to tell the full truth?
It's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore.
It never has.
You know,
it's like for me, denial's not an option anymore. A lot of my friends used to make jokes and call me chink and stuff, and then kind of go, oh yeah, haha, you know.
And it's this whole thing about, you know, you are not American unless you're white.
Recently, I had a Caucasian man tell me that I don't see you as an Asian person. I just see you as a human being.
In front of us is this carload of white, very white kids, white kids, younger than us. We're getting on the freeway, and they turn around to us, and they all start going like this. And we're all sitting in the car, and I could just feel everyone just freeze and get really rigid. And nothing was said, and nothing was said.
It's so ingrained, it's so degrading, it's so insulting. And I don't want my son to grow up like that. Perhaps this is our last chance. And maybe if we were to live it as if this were our last opportunity, we wouldn't waste a moment.
You open a magazine, every woman has to be beautiful, every woman has to be thin, every woman has to be blonde, every woman has to be this, what's that? For you? I'm sorry. It just upsets me that it's such a joke. It's uncomfortable for women to literally come up and face men about it.
I'm sure the distribution rate was like 95-5, with me getting 95% and the woman getting 5% because that's where my head was at.
You hold the power. We don't have access. We're blocked.
I said to a white male editor, I know I'm a twofer. I know that. I'm black and I'm a woman. And I know that's why you probably looked at me to begin with. And that might even be why you hired me.
You know, like so many women, I have been brutalized. Like so many women, I have not been physically safe. And I know that could happen again.
Zora Neale Hurston says, women are the mules of the world. That is how some people see us. And they see us like that so much that we begin to see ourselves like that.
I always get uptight when the cops are around. Took my license, he says, get in the car. He didn't say, get in the car, sir. Would you please go back to the car? Get in the car.
I was going to a party over in Kentucky, and I got lost. So I stopped at this bar, and I asked for directions, and this guy gave me directions. And I noticed in his hand he had a knife, and he had the knife out, and that knife was about this long.
What's different for me than for my father was I haven't fought as many cowboys as he has.
I want you to see me as a valuable person. I want you to see me as someone as valuable as yourself.
And why don't you, with your people, look for something within yourselves that can make you feel equal to us?
You chose to be that way. You chose it. Like, I chose to be this criminal.
We were about 3 or 4 doors past the sports bar. I heard somebody say, "Faggots!" And I said, they're talking about us.
I don't know that I want to do this. When you said, I'm straight, don't worry about me, you put me at ease doing that.
A woman friend of mine told me about this guy that was really attracted to me, and that bugged me.
Part of me felt safe being in my sleeping bag.
I'm not comfortable with gay people. I don't agree with that way of life.
Men know who they are. Men are kind of predatory. Men rape. There's that fear. What is a man supposed to be like?
Big, powerful, doesn't feel any pain, plays through pain, is aggressive.
My straight parents birthed me. Where do you think gay people came from? Did they come from little evil caves that the devil created or something? How can you make us seem so hideous, so sinful, so immoral? We came out of you. We were raised by you, loved by you. We went to the same schools together. We went to church together. God made us gay.
Perhaps this is our last chance. And maybe if we were to live it as if this were our last opportunity, we wouldn't waste a moment.
It came to me in a flash that there was a God and that I was put on the earth to be an example of how strong people should be. And that God wouldn't help me because I had to do it on my own. Why else would I be there alone? The only way that I knew that I could be strong was by never allowing love in my life. And I just remember it. I remember determining that.
I ran away. I left home when I started running away when I was 12. And left for pretty much good at 14. I learned about class in a way that I don't think I would have learned otherwise, because we were pariah. We were poor. We were lower than poor. We were homeless. And I saw how people would look at us. And I saw that we were not people. It just gave me this awareness that will always be with me.
My first encounter with a black man, he was what they call short. He was going home in a couple of weeks. We made friends. He told me that he wrote his mother and his girlfriend. He told me that he wrote them and said, I'm not coming home. I'm not gonna make it. I said, you crazy. Oh, man. Even if you believe that, how can you write them and tell them? And I was young and country, and I didn't know the procedure, but the youngest guy usually takes point, which means if you're going up a hill single file, the newest guy usually takes point. Well, Newsom, this guy who was going home 2 weeks, took point, and I didn't realize the significance of that. I've never gone here before.
You know, I didn't meet my mom till I was 14. I met my dad when I was 28. My grandmother found me or found out that I was somewhere in New York City in the middle of January. and came and found me in a crib or something with a thin sheet by a half-open window. And she just wrapped me up and took me to live with her. She raised me. She saved my life. I call her Mom.
My father was an alcoholic. He was physically abusive to my mother. He beat my mother. So growing up in that kind of violence, we were running into the night all the time and always feeling in chaos. I have built up all these defenses that have to do with being quick verbally. This is so important to me to be here because I know what it's taken to get here, to speak, to have a voice.